Hey, welcome back. We're going to be taking a look at another new collection for October 2023. This is going to be Ambience, Fire and Water. Ambience, Fire and Water has 10 Reaper projects and just over 200 sounds included. As always, we'll jump into the main project and do just a quick overview of each of the included sort of assets. And then we'll go into the sub-projects and then do a little demonstration and show you how these can be implemented inside of my Unreal demonstration. Okay, so here we go into the main project window. As you can see, all the projects here, we have a variety of different types of assets. So there's the actual fire looping ambiences. There's forest, generic, house fire, smoldering. For water, there's boiling, flowing, generic, and then there's a waterfall. So we'll listen to a couple of these. The other type of project you'll find in here are objects for fire and water. So there's very small, like sort of one-shots for certain things. And so I'll go over a couple of those as well. So let's go ahead and listen to a few of the fire and water objects first, and then we'll go into the ambience sub-projects for one of each. First object, fire debris. There's a lot of one-shots in here in some of these objects. Crackle, fuel gas, fire electrical sound, a whoosh. You have to have whooshes in a collection like this. Okay, water objects. So we have bubbles, some drips, and what else? Let's see. Splashes, waves. This is cool. And some steam bursts. Cool. Awesome. So we're going to go into the fire generic and the water generic sub-projects. I think that's fair to use for a baseline kind of demonstration. But real quick, let's just listen through some of the other ones so that you kind of have some context. So here's fire forest, firehouse, smoldering, water boiling, water flowing, water generic, and then waterfall. All right, so we can only take so much time listening to these ambiences. They're going to loop on. So let's go ahead and jump into our first fire generic project and show you how the ambience project is set up. Here I am inside of the fire generic project. So the first thing that you'll notice is that there's two different loop variations, and then there's an array of layers and controls for each of these loops, which I'll kind of demonstrate since it's been a little while since the last ambience collection was out. The other thing to talk about real quick are these composites here. So when you open a project up, you're going to be monitoring in stereo. That's the way they're set up. If you want to change that, you can change that. You'll notice that the other types of channel outputs are muted. If you unmute these, you'll be able to render out files in each of these various different formats, but by default, it's going to open up to stereo, and stereo will be the one that's unmuted. The other ones that are muted, they're not routed to any kind of bus, so if you were to unmute these, you wouldn't be hearing them. All right, so taking a look at the actual layers inside of the project here. So we have layer 1, which is a basic layer, blaze, crackle layer, sizzle, a burst layer as well. And then each one of these layers, you can see, has these modulation parameters in the automation lane here. So you can control things like the size, the reverb, distance, the intensity, and a bunch of other type of things. So this will be a little bit different maybe from one project to the next. But I'm going to go ahead and loop this and just play around with some of these parameters a little bit. All right. So here is the blaze intensity. Crackle. Here's the distance. Well, let's do quantity first. So as you increase the quantity, and then distance, make it further or closer. What about sizzle? So there's distance and quantity for sizzle as well. And then burst. All right, awesome. So yeah, these modulation parameters, they're basically routed to control different parameters across maybe multiple instances of Enrage. So it avoids you having to open up the plugin and tweak the plugin manually. It gives you a nice overall control for getting the type of sound you might want without getting too technical. So it's a really feature that I love is anytime we have a collection that has these modulation parameters attached to them. Okay, hopping over to the water generic project. We'll just kind of play this, and I've already sort of explained the layout and the types of parameters here you can control. So I'm just going to kind of demo it a little bit and let you get a chance to hear it. Details wave. And you often find these quantity and distance sort of parameters. There's also sometimes the size. So let's see. Oh, it's for a second. All right, excellent. All right, so I'll talk about my overall impression here, I guess, of this collection. With the two generic water and fire subprojects, those are going to be useful in like a huge variety of different situations. So even though there's only 10 total projects and a couple of different like special objects or loops, the generic ones, they have enough that you could probably fit them into any situation. Again, a really interesting sort of way you can kind of illustrate how effective and accessible some of these Strata collections, the way they're designed. So there's really no waste, that you don't have to wade through a bunch of unnecessary loops or files or things. You just have what you need and you can customize it quite easily. There are some really interesting sub projects included, like the waterfall or like the house fire type of loops. It's nice that we have the objects for like one shots, so you can create additional variety for some of these loops and creating the ambience inside of your space. Everything considered, another excellent sort of addition to Strata collections. You'll find, I'm sure, plenty of use for these, especially those generic projects. Those are going to be really useful. So let's hop over to Unreal and Wise and just show you what it looks like getting these into a project. For the fire and water implementation, I have a debris sound. And that'll play whenever the ship crash lands. I also have an ambience loop for the fire. And then a water ambience loop for the pipes whenever they break. Thank you so much again for watching this, and I hope that you're enjoying, the new Strata collections and getting a chance to sort of get a peek at what's inside of these. I always enjoy sort of looking at them and being able to talk about these projects I think it's really a great sort of innovation as far as how we're using sound libraries as sound designers. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Someone will take a look at them, and we'll try to help if there's anything or any questions you might have about Strata. I'll be doing a special stream on Wise Up On Air for Halloween. So it'll be October 31st. We'll be taking a look at both these collections and some implementation a little bit more in depth. If you really want to get hands-on, you participate in the stream and ask questions, and we're going to have fun. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see the new collections as they become available, and I will see you next month.